I'm the project coordinator for Connecting Communities with Peatlands. It's a Just Transition funded project that is led by Irish Rural Link and the Community Wetlands Forum. And I suppose what's the main aim really of connecting communities with peatlands, obviously in the context of Just Transition, is really about building community capacity to be able to run bog related projects. So the idea really kind of came about as Bord na Móna were ceasing industrial peat extraction, that communities would be in a position to engage a lot more with what happens with the future of their bogs. And that's something that, we've been working on, not only just on Bord na Móna bogs, but with communities that are beside National Parks and Wildlife Service bogs, Cuilche bogs, bogs that are in private ownership or held in trust by communities. So we work with a wide range of community bog projects across the Midlands, and we're working in the eight county regions of the Just Transition region as well. So when I say we're kind of providing capacity training and support, what we would do, for example, is meet a community group, go out and talk to them and see what their needs are and find out what their interests are and see if we can actually, find another project in that area that has, similar objectives or has done something similar in the past. So that's the kind of beauty of the Community Wetlands Forum element of this project, is that there is already a network of community projects based on wetlands and peatlands around Ireland who have years of experience. I think someone mentioned in the chat that they're from Abbey Leaks, and I think Abbey Leaks Bog would probably be one of the flagship, I suppose, community groups there. They've been working on restoration of the bog. They've leased it from Bord na Móna, developing boardwalks, working on biodiversity projects, community engagement and education there. So it all really depends on what the community themselves want to do. And that's how we support them, is putting them in contact with people in certain agencies or organisations, getting them in contact with local authority people, and giving them advice ourselves and being with them along the way of their journey. As part of that, initially when we started the project, we didn't have a mentoring element to it, but kind of going through the process of it, it kind of, was a bit of a no-brainer to have peer mentoring, because we have such fantastic, knowledgeable and experienced people within the Community Wetlands Forum who can pass on their knowledge and skill sets and information, and do so very freely and give up their own time very regularly. So we set up a pilot mentoring program just there at the end of the summer, and we've actually just finished it there at the end of January, our pilot. And we're hoping to relaunch that in April and get a lot of learning out of it. But we had 5 community groups participate in that. And, the feedback that I've received so far has been fairly good. A lot of the communities feel like they're reaching their objectives. And sorry, I have a cat who wants to get in the limelight. And they're reaching their objectives, getting that knowledge and support. And what's most important that I see is that it's building community confidence to do these projects, that they're seeing other examples of this happening around the country in similar kind of communities, with a small population, maybe it's a tidy towns group, maybe it is an environmental group, maybe it's, we get walking groups as well. So it's definitely a mixture of people that come to be involved in this and to get involved in bog projects. And whether that's looking at bog projects from restoration point of view, whether it's promoting awareness of biodiversity, or if it's looking at recreational opportunities there to develop walkways and boardwalks, and then potentially something for slow tourism, ecotourism into the future. They all take their own perspective on it, and usually a lot of the time they have a hand in almost everything. So that's really what we're doing at the moment, and similar to the Emerge project, we'll be finishing up at the end of this year. But the outcome has been really good. So far what we can see is that we're filling an information gap people are building their knowledge and awareness of projects, of bog projects, and are looking for more and more information on particularly biodiversity, funnily enough, and restoration work, but as well as that kind of key element of looking at succession planning. What's there for the future? How are we going to get more people in our community involved? So we don't just focus on the bog element of things, of the science and the ecology part of it. We also focus on the needs of the community there, that the challenges that they're facing. What's interesting, I suppose, in our space when we're talking about peatlands, there's quite a lot of funding opportunities for it now, given the significance of them, and then the state focus on climate action and biodiversity. We have there's a number of funding opportunities available to community groups to do bog projects. Particularly, there's the Peatland Community Engagement Scheme from National Park and Wildlife Service, and that tends to be the one that the majority of communities that I work with tend to go for. And then obviously there's the community water programme as well. The Heritage Council have a number of different funding streams, and these are all kind of tend to be open around now. So a lot of the community groups would have worked on their proposals, earlier last year to have kind of things ready to go for this time of year. I suppose the challenges really that they're facing is particularly in relation to having match funding, bridging finance, that kind of thing. What's interesting, I suppose, in this space is that you can, under certain funding schemes, you can put down the amount of volunteer hours as a way of doing match funding and how that would equate financially. So that's an interesting piece. That can support a lot of communities, who wouldn't have the finances in the bank account. Sometimes, you'd look at a form and you're like, okay, well, we're going to get, maybe 75% of the funding for this, but we need X amount. But you can then maybe counter it off with, well, we're going to have 12 volunteers working X amount of hours and keep a record of that and use that. They've done that in the likes of Abbey Leaks Bog, and they talk about it quite frequently. So yeah, those are challenges, but there's also, I suppose, community finance, social finance through Clown Credo. They've supported a couple of our community groups as well with bridging finance on leader funding as well. So there are a good few number of options there. It's just the struggle of having everything in order, having your documents in order, putting in the application fund, but that also then comes with time and experience as well. But there's not a lack of funding, I have to say, out there for peatland projects at the moment. In my own experience, you do have those community champions that have an idea and the community group completely back it and they go and do it, and then there might be stagnation then for a time, or even there's a particular problem and the community band together and then they resolve that and then something comes out of it. But usually what I see is, maybe the community group have gotten a feasibility study done of, what they could action. And then there's a sense of overwhelm of where do we start, what do we do? And that just creates then stagnation. And so, what we would try and do in terms of that is look at what's actually, what we already have. What can we improve on? Like Ruth was just saying there, how do you get the community buy-in? Pick something that, you have a small, maybe a small win very quickly and people can get excited about something. And that's really important. So that's what, we try and encourage is do those small things first. And then, have your long-term plan, have maybe your 5-year plan of developing the boardwalk, but, tick those few boxes so that you feel as if you're achieving something consistently. Communities have generally relevant skill sets and things like that, or knowledge and experience. It's just about kind of getting that done. I suppose that's another part of, I suppose, networking and getting to know other projects that may not have happened in your locality or have happened outside of your county area, and learning from things that have come from the past and that have been done before. And I think that element of learning kind of can take you to the next level of of the doing. Yeah, because that's what we, I suppose, you see with the peatland projects, is that when they see it has been done somewhere else, you get the contacts of who's been doing it, and you can take it kind of from there.